What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Barndo Life. If you're here, chances are you've already spent hours scrolling through Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, looking at these massive, beautiful steel-framed homes and thinking, that's it. That's my dream house. Because me and my wife did the same exact thing. And hey, I get it. We talk about how amazing barndominiums are all the time in this channel. The open floor plans, the wraparound porches, the massive shops attached right to your living room. It's an incredible way to live. But today we need to have a serious, real talk conversation, because building a barndo, it's not always about, the country sunrises and affordable square footage. For some people, it can turn into an absolute nightmare. By no way, shape, or form is this video an anti-barndominium, because my wife and I, we own one. We built it together. So if you're thinking about pulling the trigger on a build, you need to hear this first. Because today, we're going to go over 10 reasons why you should not build a barndominium. And trust me, reason number 7 is something almost nobody talks about or even thinks about until they're already 50 grand deep into engineering. Let's get started. Let's start with the biggest hurdle right out of the gate. Financing. If you walk into a traditional bank and tell them, hey, I want to build a standard 2,500 square foot ranch home, they'll hand you a standard construction loan application. No problems at all. But if you walk in and say, hey, I want to build a metal machine shed and put a luxury kitchen inside it, a lot of traditional lenders are going to look at you like you have two heads. They have no clue what you're talking about. So here's the issue. Banks rely on something called comparables or comps. To approve your loan, an appraiser needs to find 3 or 4 similar homes that have sold in your immediate area within the last 6 months to prove what your house will be worth. If you're building in a rural area where barndos are booming right now, you're going to be fine. But if you're the first one to build a barndo in your county, there are no comps. The bank views it as a massive risk. You might have to hunt down specialized agricultural lenders like farm credit bureaus or specialized online builders just to find someone willing to fund your project. It takes way more legwork, a much higher down payment, sometimes 20 to 30% down, and a mountain of patience, folks, I'm telling you. If you want a smooth, easy loan process, a barndo might not be for you. Reason number 2, oh God, this is why I moved out of the city. Reason number 2 is HOAs and strict zoning laws. Look, if you already own 20 acres out in the middle of nowhere with no restrictions, you can skip this point. But if you just bought a beautiful 2-acre lot in a semi-suburban subdivision or just outside city limits like we are, you need to check your deed restrictions immediately. A massive number of homeowner associations and suburban zoning boards have strict rules against metal-clad or post-frame residential structures. They want brick, they want stone, they want fiber cement siding. They have this outdated idea that a barndominium is just a glorified double-wide or a commercial warehouse that will bring down neighborhood property values, which is absolutely not true. But even if you explain to them that it's going to look like a $1 million modern farmhouse, the wording in the bylaws can completely legally shut you down. So before you buy land and before you buy that barndo kit, you have to dig really deep into the local zoning codes. If you hate fighting local bureaucracy, stick to the traditional build. Reason number 3 is the ultimate myth buster. It is not always cheaper to build a barndominium. I know. You clicked on a video or read on an article from 5 years ago saying you could build a barndo for $70 a square foot. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a helpful peer who wants to save your bank account, those days are gone. Yes, the shell of a metal building or a post frame building can go up faster and sometimes cheaper than a traditional stick frame shell. But remember this, a sheet of drywall costs the same inside of a metal building as it does inside of a regular house. A quartz countertop costs the same. An HVAC system, electrical wiring, plumbing fixtures, it all costs exactly the same. In fact, because barndos, often feature massive open concept layouts with towering 14 to 20 foot. Ours is like 23, almost 25 feet to the center in the main living area. Your finishes can actually cost more because these guys have to rent specialized equipment like lifts and scaffolding. Heating and cooling that massive volume of air requires high efficiency systems. You can't just get a regular old AC system. Plus, common framing for interior walls under a massive steel clear span can add up fast. If your only motivation for building a Barndo is because you think it's a budget shortcut, you're going to be severely disappointed when the subcontractor bids start rolling in. Reason number 4 brings us to the science. Insulation and condensation. Metal is an incredible conductor of heat and cold. If it is 100 degrees outside, that metal siding wants to be 100 degrees, no matter what you do. If it's freezing, that steel frame turns into a giant ice cube. Furthermore, when warm air inside meets cold metal outside, you know what you get? You get the condensation problems. Your house will literally start sweating inside the walls if it isn't built right. This means you cannot just throw cheap fiberglass batts against a metal building wall. It's not going to work. To do a Barndominium right, you almost always have to use closed-cell spray foam insulation because it is a moisture barrier. It creates a seamless vapor barrier. It seals perfectly to the metal panels. It doesn't have that gap that the fiberglass has to create the condensation. But there's a catch. Spray foam is much more expensive than traditional insulation. If you cut corners on insulation in your Barndo build, you will pay for every single month in astronomical energy bills. Or worse, you'll end up with mold issues behind your drywall. It requires absolute precision. Reason number 5 is something you won't realize until you actually move in. It's the echo chamber. One of the main reasons we love Barndos is it's the architectural freedom, right? Because the outer steel or post frame structure carries all the weight of the roof. You don't need interior load-bearing walls. You can have a 60-foot wide living room with no pillars. But think about what happens when you combine massive open spaces. 16 to 20-foot ceilings, and the most popular flooring choice for Barndos, polished concrete or luxury vinyl. You just built a giant acoustic speaker box. Yeah, if you have kids running around, dogs barking, or someone trying to watch TV while you're cooking in the kitchen, the sound bounces off every single hard surface. It can be incredibly loud and echoey. To fix this, you have to spend thousands on massive rugs, heavy curtains, acoustic panels, or specialized ceiling materials to absorb the sound. If you cherish quiet and cozy, acoustic privacy, the classic wide open Barndo layout, it might drive you crazy. It probably will. Reason number 6, it's the contractor gap. When you build a standard home, there are dozens of local general contractors who know exactly how to build it. But a Barndominium, it sits in this weird middle ground between commercial steel construction and residential home finishing. A lot of commercial metal building crews are great at, erecting steel. They will erect your shell with no time, but they don't know anything about residential building codes. Rough-in plumbing or plumbing a kitchen or how to frame out a bedroom closet. On the flip side, local residential builders might be intimidated by a massive engineered steel frame or a post-frame structure because they have no experience. So this means you either have to find a highly specialized Barndominium builder who might be booked out for the next 2 years, or you have to act as your own project manager like we did and try to coordinate between commercial shell builders and residential interior trades. This can lead to massive finger pointing. They're all going to be pointing at each other. Well, he did this wrong, and then that guy did this wrong. And it could cause you major delays. All right, we made it to reason number 7, And like I said earlier, this is one that trips up almost everyone. Nobody thinks of it. It's the sub-slab plumbing trap. In a traditional house with a crawl space or a basement, if you want to move a bathroom 3 feet to the left during construction, or if a plumber misses a pipe placement by a few inches, we had a couple of pipes misplaced, but it was about 18 to 20 inches. It's very annoying, but it's fixable. You just go underneath and change the pipes, right? When you're building a regular house. Well, almost all barndominiums are built on a monolithic concrete slab. That means before the metal building even arrives on a truck, your plumbing pipes have to be laid in the dirt and encased in tons of poured concrete. Yeah. Once that concrete cures, your floor plan is locked in stone, literally. If your measurements are off by even an inch, your toilet pipe might end up inside your living room or inside of a wall instead of in the bathroom. If you change your mind later and want to move your kitchen island sink or if you want to, move a bathroom or move a toilet to another part of the bathroom, well, you have to bring in jackhammers, folks. Bust up your brand new engineering foundation, reroute the lines, and re-pour concrete. This requires flawless planning before day one. There's zero room for figuring it out as we go. Reason number 8, future modifications could be incredibly difficult. Let's say 10 years down the road, you decide to add a massive window to your living room. You want a better view of your property. Or you want to add a patio door leading out to a new deck that you just built. In a traditional wood frame house, changing a window or cutting a door, it's pretty straightforward. You cut out some drywall, cut the wood studs, you throw in a header, patch it up, and there you go. Well, with the steel frame barndominium, cutting into the exterior metal panels alters the structural skin of the building. You have to deal with heavy gauge steel girts, specialized flashing to make sure it doesn't leak, and matching the exact paint color and rib profile of your original metal panels, which might be discontinued by now. Forget it. It's going to be really hard. Changes to the exterior require precise engineering to ensure you don't compromise the building's window or snow load ratings too. Everything is put together for a reason with engineering. What you build on day one is pretty much what you have to live with forever. Reason number 9 is all about the exit strategy, resale value, and a niche buyer market. Yeah, nobody dreams a build home thinking about selling it right away, but life happens. Jobs transfer, families grow, situations change. Listen, when we started building our barndominium, okay, we had 2 daughters, 2 nieces that lived with us. So we had 4 girls. We had 3 or 4 dogs, 2 cats. We needed a bigger house. By the time I finished my barndominium build, 3 of the 4 girls had moved out. So now we have a 5-bedroom barndominium with 3 people living in it. And if you ever had to sell your barndominium, you need to realize that the buyer market is much smaller than for a traditional home, right? While barndos are incredibly popular on the internet, the average everyday home buyer looking at Zillow is still looking for a traditional suburban home or a classic country ranch. A lot of buyers are turned off by the industrial look of the metal siding. Let's just be real, right? Or they don't want a massive attached 2,000 square foot shop. Because it's a niche market, your home might sit on the market a little bit longer. And going back to reason number 1, since future buyers will face the same exact financing issues and appraising issues that you did, makes it even harder for them to get approved to buy it from you. Yeah. It's an investment you should make for yourself, not one you should expect to flip for a quick profit. It's going to take a while. And finally, reason number 10, a modern problem that will absolutely drive you insane if you aren't prepared. It's called the Faraday cage effect. Have you ever noticed how when you walk into a giant warehouse or a big box retail store, your cell phone signal instantly drops to 1 bar or disappears completely? That's because you are standing inside a metal box. When you build a home with a metal roof and metal siding, you are essentially building a giant Faraday cage. It is highly efficient at reflecting and blocking electromagnetic fields, which includes your cell phone signals and over-the-air television waves and Wi-Fi. If you have your Wi-Fi inside your house, don't expect to get any Wi-Fi outside. So if you don't plan for this, you can move into your beautiful new Barndominium and realize you can't even make a phone call from your couch. To fix this, you have to invest in cell phone signal boosters with external antennas mounted on your roof, or ensure you have a robust high-end mesh Wi-Fi system set up throughout the whole house so you can rely entirely on Wi-Fi calling. It's a solvable problem, right? But it's an extra expense and a tech headache that traditional wood and shingle homeowners almost never have to worry about. Whew, wow. Okay, that was a lot of tough love, wasn't it? But look, I didn't make this video to scare you away from building a Barndominium. Like I said at the very beginning, here at Barndo Life, we love these homes. When they're built right, they're one of the most durable, low-maintenance, jaw-dropping, beautiful properties in the planet. The point of this video is to make sure you go into this process with your eyes wide open. Don't fall for the internet myths. Understand the financing problems, plan your plumbing, budget for the right installation, and know what you're getting into. Because the more you're prepared for the challenges, the better your build is going to be. If you listen to all 10 of these reasons and you're thinking, you know what? I can handle all of that. None of that scares me. Then congratulations. You are officially a prime candidate to build your dream Barndo. If you want to know how to overcome some of these hurdles, like how to actually get a bank to even approve your loan, I have a video about financing barndominiums. You can go back on my playlist and check it out. Hey, while you're at it, drop a comment below and tell me which of these 10 reasons surprised you. I read every single comment that everybody posts. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time.